All right, so like I said, we're going to kind of waver from what we originally were going to do with the script. We will talk about a little bit of league news and free agent signings. We will maybe dabble into a little NFL draft. We've got weeks to talk about those things. We'll also talk a little bit about Dynasty because Blister and I are now heavily involved in a startup. But first, let's get to a Twitter question. I thought I had it up, and I don't. I'll have to pull it up on the old phone here. All right, this one's coming from James at Kiss My Red Zone. He asks Uncle Buckets, what are the boys' feelings on, first of all, Toby Gerhart? Where do you think MJD will land? And Lamar Miller, and I think he's testing us, but he said Lamar Miller in his sophomore year will try to venture that maybe not sophomore. Anyways, let's start first. Anyone want to take on Toby Gerhart and his fantasy implications this year? Anyone?
Go ahead, Slam.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't think he's going to have tons of fantasy implications. He's someone that's draftable now, that's for sure. I think you'll see his value in, inside the red zone as a goal line back. I'd be shocked, though, if Jacksonville doesn't do something either in free agency still or probably more likely drafting somebody for a running back that can kind of do, more third down work, kind of a big play type running back, somebody who can catch passes out of the backfield, kind of a more versatile weapon, so to speak. And Gerhart can be that short yardage guy, get his 10 carries a game. When they get in the red zone, they can go in there, and definitely when they're on the goal line, I expect him to get the touches. So I think that he has some upside there. I mean, the fact of the matter is still that he plays on Jacksonville, and how many touchdowns are they necessarily going to score? It's not going to be like no Sean Moreno for the Broncos last year or anything, but any goal line back I think is draftable and definitely worth a roster spot, at least to start and see how things go. Hopefully he's only maybe an injury away from getting the bulk of the carries there, and obviously then all of a sudden his value would spike considerably.
All right. Blister, why don't we just move to you for the second part of the question then? MJD, where do you think he's going to end up?
Well, that's a good question, and I mean, I don't know. Again, all three of the names you gave us, I'm not real excited about any of them, but who knows? Maybe they are a name that you grab later on in your draft, and maybe you get some production out of these guys. But he's got New England, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Steelers all. He's visiting them all and looking for a place to camp. I mean, you never know. I mean, you would think maybe not New England, but they brought in LeGarrette Blount there a year or so ago. They had who was the guy they brought in basically for kick returns from Seattle? Leon Washington.
Right.
So it's not unlike them to bring in some older backs and try to find a role for them and do something with them, but they still do have, quite a crowded backfield there when you look at the situation. He could probably help any of these teams to an extent. The Jets are, they have their running backs there that Ivory, and he can't really stay healthy. It's hard to say really. The Steelers, I was reading most recently, would like to have a capable backup for Le'Veon Bell to spell him off. And I mean, hey, that's a nice 1-2 punch if you got a nice young rookie like Le'Veon Bell in there, and then to give him a breather, you go to MJD. I mean, to me, that would be the most exciting option for him. Typically a team that likes to pound the ball. The Dolphins, though, we're going to talk, Slim might be talking here next about Lamar Miller. I mean, there's a situation there where if he went in and played too, he might get some opportunity because no running back really stole the show there in Miami last year. So, all these aren't bad opportunities. Probably where I'd like to see him land is in Pittsburgh out of mostly, because if you look at the rest of those other three teams, they're all in the same division, and they're going to play New England, and a lot of those games do tend to be some higher scoring games where you're going to be throwing the ball a lot more, which could take carries out of MJD's hands. So probably Pittsburgh might be his best opportunity.
Right. Well, yeah, and it'd be interesting there. I don't know. Again, how excited are you for him to really go anywhere? I guess, but
that's it.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it. I mean, he's one of those guys you watch over this. If he lands somewhere, then you watch him through training camp and see what his role is and see how he looks and if he's got anything left in the tank, and then maybe you target him as a little sleeper later on in your draft.
Well, I think if you're hoping anywhere, you hope it's somewhere like New England, because we've seen in the past, Belichick with Fred Taylor, recently with LeGarrette Blount, Corey Dillon. Like, they'll take a veteran running back.
Corey Dillon, look at you.
And get what they can out of him still. So, I mean, if MJD has something left in the tank, I think Belichick will find a way to do it. And Stephen Ridley's no guarantee to week in and week out take carries. If he fumbles, he's one fumble away from being benched for a couple of games, and I don't think they view Vereen as an every down back. So right. I think New England would be his best situation. Pittsburgh, I mean, there's no way he's going to start over Le'Veon Bell. So he's automatically the backup there, right? At least in New England, he's got a chance to maybe be on the field more than any other running back if he can do something with it. But, I mean, who knows what's going to happen here.
Well, and if that happens and he moves to New England too, all of a sudden it's pretty interesting. I mean, some of the moves, you got a little LaFell and those types of things. They've been the Star Wars type of Cold War battle with Denver right now, and seeing who can pick up more names in free agency right now. But it would be interesting to see MJD there, and I think he could be a decent back, I guess, especially if there's a passing game involved and all those types of things, that he can catch the ball and get in space. And
well, yeah, and New England likes using lots of running backs. We've seen it for years now. They'll find a way to use 4 running backs on the roster for different various situations. It's very situational and everything, but I mean, if they think he has value, they'll find a way to get him the ball.
Which is great for New England, but not so great if you're a fantasy owner looking to which one do you take, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's why you don't see too many New England running backs
unless
over low-end RB2 or or flex. I mean, that's just what they're going to be, right? But,
right. Well, speaking of low-end or flex, Slim, what are your thoughts on Lamar Miller to finish off Kiss My Red Zone's questions?
Well, I don't know. He's a guy. I think he's just stuck on the wrong team, honestly. I don't think he's as bad as what the Dolphins coaching staff kind of make him out to be. I think they just came out, Philbin was quoted at the league meetings as saying how they feel like he's got, he can be, what did he say? Something like, he can do all 3 things that you want a running back to do, is what he said. Right. So whether that's obviously running and probably catching and blocking, whatever, but they give him this boost of confidence, but yet last year they showed no faith in him, really in Daniel Thomas either. So who knows what they're going to do there. They've been linked since the end of last season to be spending a fairly high pick, probably a day 2 pick maybe, on a running back. So that doesn't bode well for Miller. Now they've been linked to Maurice Jones-Drew. They had no Sean Moreno in for a free agent visit. So, I mean, who knows what to make of it. To me, he starts the season as, right now, I would draft him as a flex at best. And just hope that maybe he can earn something. I don't know. I just don't put any trust, though, in the coaching staff there to make the right decision and use him properly, though.
Right, and then hopefully everything pans out with the O-line down there, too, and who knows what the hell could happen, right?
I mean, if they don't address that offensive line in the draft here and try and upgrade it, I mean, they just lost 2 pieces of their starting offensive line, so they got to do something. But, it's got... People laugh at Cleveland and things like that, but to me, Miami's almost as bad. It's just they kind of make these flashier moves and maybe not quite as public, but it's just the mess that's down there is almost, to me, as bad as what's going on in Cleveland with the amount they overspend on free agents and just the roster moves they make sometimes make you want to scratch your head and think, what the hell's going on? Who's calling the shots down there?
Well, speaking of Cleveland, and I know, Blister, I probably don't have you that prep for it, but what do you think about the free agent move, Ben Tate heading up there to the Orange Helmet?
Well, I like the opportunity for Tate. I mean, they got a pretty solid team up there, and I think they would like to be able to run the ball. We always said, and before, I mean, for what seems like we've been talking about Tate for about 3 years. If he could get the opportunity, even Foster said he could be a number one on many teams. Well, now is his opportunity to do that. Unfortunately for him, he's also been banged up about every year too. So, I mean, I think he's going to be one of those guys that probably going to be overvalued a bit come draft day because everyone's going to say, "Oh, Ben Tate, these are his numbers, this, that, blah, blah, blah," and he's going to Cleveland, and again, it's going to be an opportunity for him, but I don't think you're going to find your top running back, or potentially he might have a hard time. If he was a top 10, he'd be happy, but I don't even know with his health problems and the Cleveland offense, new offensive coordinator again this year, how all that's going to unfold. I guess time will tell, but it's going to be a guy that's going to drafting now. You'd probably go higher than potentially when you're drafting later in August, when you get a chance to see how things look and how he's holding up and what kind of offense they have. Things could change slightly there. His value could increase, but it could decrease maybe a little bit, level out maybe to where it probably should be.
So just staying with them, Slim, and I guess it's a good segue into the NFL draft. I mean, with Cleveland with 2 first-round picks here, what type of moves are you looking at them making to try to bolster a little bit more of a solid lineup here for a guy like Ben Tate or whatever to be on an effective team heading into next year?
Well, I'm excited to see actually what Cleveland did. I mean, the last couple of years, last offseason, this offseason, I don't mind some of the free agent moves they made, and I think they're actually close. I mean, you could argue that they're a quarterback away, really. I mean, they have one of the top 5 for sure wide receivers in the NFL right now. They've got a high pick in the draft, which I wouldn't be surprised if they take Sammy Watkins, who's the number 1 wide receiver in the draft, if he's available when they pick. So now all of a sudden you have 2, what look like very, very solid receiving options. Don't forget you got Jordan Cameron, one of the up-and-coming tight ends in the league. You've already got a pretty strong offensive line. Now you've got a running back in Ben Tate who, when healthy, is fairly talented. He's definitely an RB2 as far as fantasy football goes. So, I mean, the offense looks like they're kind of rounding into shape here. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go and they draft another running back some point in the draft, maybe in the second maybe a little high, but 3rd or 4th round. I mean, and now you've got 2 capable backs. I'm sure they take a quarterback in this draft somewhere. Whether he starts from day one, we'll see what they like. Hoyer's coming back. He was pretty solid when he was in there until he had that kind of nasty knee injury. So they might be happy rolling the dice with him. And, if Hoyer's under center, then look out Jordan Cameron because, when those 2 were on the field together, you didn't get any better games all season with Jordan Cameron than you did when Hoyer was under center. So I don't know. I mean, their defense, they got Joe Hayden playing corner. They got some pass rushers. Hopefully they address the linebacker position and stuff like that in the draft. And, I think they're not that far away, and especially in the AFC North division where the Steelers kind of look like they're taking a little bit of a downward turn. The Ravens could be taking a little bit of a downward turn. They've lost some veterans. It's kind of anybody's division, and we could start seeing Cleveland here in the playoffs for the next couple of years, and it's kind of exciting as a football fan. I like seeing new blood kind of emerging like that, and I'm pulling for them. They've been terrible for so long, and it'd be nice to see them kind of rise to the top here again, and I think they're close, and I'm anxious to see what they do in the draft with all this talent that's in the draft this year.
Well, I'm just going through and Blister,